A neighbor called it one of the most horrific things he's seen happen to someone. This is a picture of Casey Liebachuk in the hospital after his family says he was stabbed 17 times because he told a homeless man he couldn't camp in his neighborhood. This is Todd Schneider in court this afternoon. He was arrested and charged with attempt to commit murder. He immediately said he didn't want an attorney and went back and forth with the judge about why he wants to represent himself.
I absolutely refuse to have a lawyer represent me.
As for the victim's family, his daughter took to Facebook saying it's a miracle he survived the attack because the knife missed his carotid artery by a hair. In a post, his daughter blamed the city of Portland, saying they allowed this to happen, referring to the city's homeless problem. Mayor Ted Wheeler released a statement expressing his deepest sympathies for the family and said he's committed to reducing violent crime in our community. Liebachuk's family set up a GoFundMe to raise money for his medical bills. At last check, they've raised more than $7,000. So Schneider will appear in court again tomorrow. The judge continued his arraignment. That gives her more time to decide whether or not he's competent to waive his right to an attorney. Back to you.